Hi, my name is Cody Russellberg, and on behalf of USI's MHA 4+1 program, I'd like to introduce you to our collaboration with the American Red Cross. So, at the beginning of the semester, we were approached by Sherry Miller. She's the Senior Volunteer Services Specialist for the Southern Chapter of the Indiana Red Cross. And she came to us with three problems that she regularly encounters and was trying to get some ideas from us. So, the first would be volunteers logging their hours. So when a volunteer is out at whether it be a blood drive or responding to a house fire, they need to log their hours. This is a way of the Southern chapter of the Red Cross showing how much work they're doing, and they get a larger piece of the pie when it comes to funding. So the Southern chapter has approximately 4,000 volunteers, and over the recently tracked time period, there should have been 150,000 logged hours, while she only had 13,000. So she wanted us to find a way to change the mindset and capture more of those hours that are worked. She had a couple of ideas at why this was occurring. The first would be an older clientele from 55 up that weren't necessarily tech savvy and didn't understand how to load their hours, whether it be via their website or their app. Another problem would be a younger generation that just didn't really care to do it. And lastly, she thought that people didn't want to boast about volunteering their time, that it was something more personal and it didn't really matter on a large scale. Second is visibility and recruitment, particularly in Knox and Gibson counties. There's only a couple of volunteers in these areas, and she wanted to try and improve that so she has more visibility in those particular areas. And lastly was their annual survey. So every year, a volunteer has an annual survey that they need to complete. However, she gets a response rate of less than 1%. So she just wanted us to come up with ideas to try and improve this. And so my classmates are going to talk about some of the solutions that we came up with and some ideas that we bounced back and forth. And we kind of finally landed on these that we thought would be feasible as well as easily initiated so that we can quickly capture and finish these problems.
Something our cohort learned while in marketing class is that an integral aspect of a good business is a good mission and vision statement. A mission and vision statement gives a business a purpose and should help guide them forward in their future decisions. With this in mind, I created a promotional elevator speech incorporating parts of the American Red Cross's mission and vision statement. This is the speech. Hello, my name is Erica Hart, and I am an American Red Cross volunteer. The American Red Cross prevents and alleviates human suffering in the face of emergencies through its strong network of volunteers, donors, and partners. By turning your compassion into action, we can continue saving lives. Come out and be a volunteer today. This speech is supposed to promote the American Red Cross and give others a quick overview of what the organization is all about.
Okay, so this slide will talk about the data based on our research. First, we are going to talk about the statistic data about the total volunteer and hours logging. And from the top chart, we can see that 1,549 volunteers coming from Central Indiana, about 40%. That's the highest percentage of the volunteer coming from. Another chart on the bottom, it talks about the volunteer versus the hour log per hours volunteer. We can see some difference from those two charts. Even the Central Indiana have the highest number of volunteers, around 40%, but the Northeast have the highest number of the hours logging per volunteer. That's because the Northeast Indiana has more hours logging So this data can give us some basic information on volunteer login hours based on the different location. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Katie Robinson. My role in this project between our Marketing and Competitive Strategy class and the American Red Cross has been to create documentation of our work. Each class this semester, I would type notes based on metrics we discussed, ideas students shared, tools we created or used, and plans or deadlines we made for upcoming classes. Using these notes, I then created a portfolio illustrating and explaining the contributions of our class this semester. The binder is split into a couple different sections, which I'll briefly go over now. The initial section is the mission and vision of the American Red Cross. I think this was important to include because as consultants, we're meant to work within and suggest changes which still adhere to the core values of the American Red Cross. The next section is our project summary, followed by the objectives of our project. Our objectives were to increase the number of volunteer hours logged onto Volunteer Connection, increase responses from the annual engagement survey, and increase visibility in Knox and Gibson County. This is followed by a subsection presenting and graphically illustrating some of the American Red Cross's current metrics. Inclusion of these points was meant to serve as a starting point for which our class worked. The next section is most important in terms of our group's role as consultants. It presents and briefly explains all of these suggestions we've come up with over the semester. In instances where a physical sample of an idea was created, like the certificate awarded for logging hours or name tag reminders for volunteer badges, I inserted an actual copy. This section is followed by a copy of all of the notes and class agendas from the semester. Those notes serve as an illustration of our project over the semester and hold us accountable for the work we've done. Last is a biography section, which includes information as well as a picture of each of our 10 classmates.
Hello, my name is Angela DaCosta, and I am responsible for the creation of logos and the editing of videos for the Masters in Health Administration 4+1 program's collaboration with the American Red Cross. During this semester, we came up with many slogans and phrases to capture the attention of American Red Cross volunteers. Two of them that we have moved forward with are "If you love it, log it," and "It's not just another survey." I was tasked with turning these phrase ideas into original logos. With the "If you love it, log it" logo, we are planning on creating stickers to place on volunteer name badges to remind volunteers to log their volunteer hours online. With the "It's not just another survey" logo, we are hoping to open the eyes of the American Red Cross volunteers to the importance of the Volunteer Satisfaction Survey and the current extremely low response rate of 4.6%. Finally, we are hoping to move forward with two brief videos, the first being a video designed to encourage individuals to volunteer with the American Red Cross, and the second being an instructional tool for guiding people on logging their volunteer hours online. We are very excited to be working in this collaboration this semester, and hopefully our proposals have an impact on the American Red Cross volunteers.
Hi, my name is Carly Andrews, and throughout our partnership with the Red Cross, I helped design and come up with an idea to create a little bit of competition for the region of Southern Indiana within the chapters. We wanted to increase visibility in Gibson and Knox County by encouraging members to log their hours a little bit more for a competition. The competition would basically be for bragging rights, if not for minor prizes such as t-shirts, maybe just a little bit of merch, nothing too far outside of the Red Cross's budget, just something that would get volunteers a little more excited to compete and a little more excited to log their hours. The Red Cross actually just redid their volunteer services website. It looks really great. Volunteers now receive hearts for a certain amount of hours that they donate to the Red Cross. which is a great start. We just thought a competition would just be a little bit more visible and a little bit more exciting for volunteers. A competition would basically encourage members and volunteers to actively record their hours. And the greatest thing about the Red Cross is you can go back in time and record your hours. So if people saw that there was a competition happening and they wanted to be the person who ends up representing their chapter, they could go back in time, look at the calendar and say, oh, I did volunteer this day, so why don't I just log all of my hours? That way maybe I can represent my chapter. Because each chapter has a number of volunteers that varies from the other. Some chapters have quite a bit volunteers, some chapters have less. We wanted to base the competition on hours per person. This way, if you were the person who had the most hours if you recorded the most hours throughout this competition, you would be representing your chapter as the winner. This was just an idea we had to encourage, just to make people a little more invested in logging their hours, because currently logging their hours is kind of at the bottom of everybody's totem pole. They show up, they volunteer. Remembering to record these hours is a little bit under the radar for them. But we wanted to encourage people to record hours just because we came up with the slogan, we loved it, so we logged it. This would just be a great, even if you're volunteering, we want you to remember your volunteer hours directly correlate to how much people are willing to donate, because if a donor says, well, I donated this much money and you've only had volunteers volunteer for X amount of hours and that's way under what we projected, we want volunteers to really understand how important their hours are to us, how important these hours are to impacting how the Red Cross functions. So a competition would definitely just incentivize people to know that we really do care about your hours. This isn't just a one-stop thing. We want you to know that your hours are appreciated and we want you to reward them for them. So we just had a fun idea for that, and we thought maybe the Red Cross could go with it later on.
Again, my name is Cody Russellberg, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about our If You Love It, Log It idea. So regarding the first issue that Sherry brought up to us was volunteers not logging their hours. So we tried to come up with ideas that would almost take that out of their hands, and we couldn't really think of anything that would have been cost effective or really would have worked. So we tried to make it as easy as possible for volunteers to remember. And so in doing so, we talked about that old thing people would do is tie a string around your finger, and it'll make you remember whatever you tied that there for. So what we were talking about, we came up with this If You Love It, Log It slogan. It's something that would just kind of stick in the volunteers' heads, and if they heard it, then they would remember to log their hours. In addition, we also wanted to print these off in stickers so they'd be around everywhere, even on the back of the volunteer's badge. So whenever they got done with their shift or whatever they were doing for the Red Cross, they take their badge off and maybe they saw that If You Love It, Log It sticker on the back of it. It would just kind of give them a reminder to spur them to log their hours, and hopefully that would capture a lot more than we have now.
Hello, this is Muhammad Al-Nazi. I'm a student in the MHA program at the University of Southern Indiana. A strong core of volunteers is the lifeblood of the American Red Cross, and without them, not a non-profit organization would be able to succeed. It means that their value is incommensurable without volunteers. Many needs will go unanswered. However, only 4.6% of American Red Cross volunteers report their volunteering time. As we recognize volunteers' effort, commitment, hard work, and devotion, each volunteer would be awarded an appreciation certificate.
Hello, my name is Kirsten Martin, and I am a part of the MHA 4+1 program at the University of Southern Indiana. My job in this American Red Cross project was to come up with a jingle that was catchy enough to catch volunteers' attention about logging their hours. So I started off with the If You Love It, Log It slogan, and I came up with lyrics to support that and explain why it's so important to log your hours. So here is the jingle that we came up with. I hope you all enjoy it, and I hope after you hear it, it makes you want to become an American Red Cross volunteer. Don't let your hours go to waste. Volunteer with ARC today. Don't let your work go to waste. If you love it, you gotta log it. Come out and help us today. Click the link, it'll show you the way. Don't forget, log your hours every day. If you love it, you gotta log it.
Our MHA cohort had the wonderful opportunity to meet and collaborate with Sherry Miller, American Red Cross Senior Volunteer Services Specialist in the Southern Indiana chapter. Sherry illustrated that it is critical for American Red Cross volunteers to submit their volunteer hours through Volunteer Connection website or phone application, so that the hours can be tracked as part of the overall mission. American Red Cross volunteers need to be proud and excited to log in their hours through Volunteer Connection, because if you love it, log it. Tracking volunteer hours is important because it demonstrates the value of the volunteer's time in service to the mission, allowing the American Red Cross to dedicate a higher percentage of their expenses to direct services and programs. It also provides specific information to understand volunteers' contributions to their community through their Red Cross service, and allows a means to recognize and appreciate these accomplishments. Last but not least, it shows American Red Cross donors, community leaders, and the general public the quantifiable power of its volunteers. Our MHA cohort referred to the Data-Driven Improvement Cycle tool known as DMAIC throughout this collaboration with the American Red Cross, which stands for Define, Measure, Analyze, Improve, and Control. This DMAIC improvement cycle is a tool that has been used to improve, optimize, and stabilize businesses, projects, and processes. I would like to place emphasis on the M of DMAIC. Again, M stands for measure. Having efficient tools and processes in place to help measure success helps an organization analyze change and improvement. Measurements make it easier to achieve short and long-term goals. If you do not measure, you cannot compare success from failure. Efficient measurements help organizations learn trends that greatly affect their mission. The American Red Cross volunteers. Listen up and remember this: if you love it, log it.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Lucas, and throughout this project, I was able to learn a lot about the American Red Cross, University of Southern Indiana, and myself and the cohort as a whole. So one of the major driving forces for me through this project was to try and implement ideas, stir up ideas, and see if we could brainstorm together as a group. One of my biggest contributions was the idea of a voice mailbox and text messaging implementation service that they could use to track their hours as well. This would not eliminate the online portal for tracking hours. That would still be in effect. This would just be an addition. So someone could call and voice their hours, or they could text it into a certain number. And that would be really great for the population that we were trying to engage, because a lot of the volunteers are of an older generation. They're elderly people in the community who want to stay active and have the time to really donate and maximize their hours. So not only is that a majority of the workforce, but we're also a majority of our high value and high participating, high hour volunteers. So we really want to find a way to get them to maximize. This was met with some resistance, as it could be expensive to implement this kind of messaging system. However, However, with the maximization of donations through accurate and more educated reporting of hours, we would be able to recoup those losses and really maximize on donations and really the impact in the community, because if we were able to market with this information, market with the ability to tell how many hours are being donated, it would draw in more community membership and also a sense of community as a whole, which could really be used in our target populations. So those are just a few of my contributions. I assisted with the planning of the logos, other parts of this project. It was really a team effort, and at this point it can be a little difficult to decipher exactly who did what. The class of 2018 MHA 4+1 cohort would really just like to thank the American Red Cross for their time and their understanding, allowing us to come in and really get our hands on a true life scenario. It was a wonderful learning experience for us. Also, Dr. Williams has been a wonderful advocate and coach for us, pushing us to use our knowledge that we've learned throughout many of us 5 years here at USI to be able to implement real change in the community. So thank you for these opportunities. Marketing is definitely an area of healthcare that is going to become of increasing value as time goes on. So through all of our contributions and our efforts, we've really expanded our knowledge and learned what it takes to really implement a full-scale marketing strategy towards the public, especially one such as the Red Cross that can affect the lives of anyone in our area, as well as having national partnership and international reach. So I hope that you've enjoyed hearing about this project. I hope that you have been able to collect information for your own use and really see the power of the USI student body when we come together. And to the rest of the cohort, we all just want to say thank you to one another for supporting our ideas and being open to learning from each other's experiences. This has been a wonderful opportunity, and thank you so much for your time.